There is a prison beneath the streets of Rome where the sun never enters. Cold stone, damp air, and darkness so complete that men lost count of days. It was called the Mamertine, and it was here, in the final months of his life, that the greatest missionary the world had ever known sat in chains, waiting to die. His name was Paul. Once he had walked the roads of the empire preaching with a voice that shook nations. He had planted churches from Antioch to Corinth, from Ephesus to Philippi. He had been shipwrecked, beaten, stoned, and left for dead. Yet every time he rose again, carried by a fire that no chain could touch. But now, in the year 67, everything had changed. Rome was burning, and the Emperor Nero needed someone to blame. When the Great Fire swept through Rome and destroyed much of the city, rumors spread that Nero himself had ordered it, some say to clear land for his new palace. To silence the whispers, Nero turned his fury on a group he could sacrifice without consequence. Christians. They were accused of arson, of hatred toward mankind, of practicing a foreign superstition that threatened the very soul of Rome. The Roman historian Tacitus later wrote that Nero had them covered in the skins of animals and torn apart by dogs, or set ablaze to serve as human torches in his gardens at night. Paul, a Roman citizen, was spared the horror of crucifixion or the arena, but he was not spared prison. He was arrested, likely for the second time, and this time there would be no release. His companion Luke stayed near him. Most others had scattered in fear. In this darkest hour, Paul picked up a pen for what would become his final letter, the second letter to Timothy, his spiritual son in the faith. Imagine the scene. An old man, worn by decades of suffering, sitting in near total darkness, writing perhaps by a single flickering lamp. He tells Timothy to come quickly, to bring his cloak because the cold has become unbearable, and to bring his scrolls and parchments because even facing death, Paul wanted to keep learning, keep writing, keep serving. And then he writes the words that would echo through Christian history for 2,000 years. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. These were not the words of a man in despair. They were the words of a man who saw beyond the prison walls, beyond the chains, beyond even death itself. Paul knew what was coming. He had said before that to depart and be with Christ was far better than anything this life could offer. Now that moment stood before him. Tradition holds that Paul was tried before Nero or his representatives and found guilty of promoting an illegal religion. As a Roman citizen, he could not be crucified like a common criminal. Instead, he was sentenced to death by beheading, considered the more honorable execution reserved for citizens of Rome. He was led outside the city walls, along the Ostian Way, to a place the Romans called Aquae Salviae, known today as Tre Fontane. The Three Fountains' early Christian tradition tells us something remarkable happened at the moment of his execution. As the sword fell, Paul's head is said to have bounced 3 times upon the ground, and at each place it touched, a spring of water burst forth from the earth. Whether legend or memory shaped by centuries of retelling, the story captured something true. Even in death, Paul's witness brought forth life. To this day, a church stands at that site, built over what tradition holds to be the very spot where the apostle to the nations breathed his last breath on earth. Think about the weight of that moment. This was the man who once stood on the road to Damascus, breathing threats against the followers of Jesus, dragging believers to prison and death. This was Saul of Tarsus, the persecutor, struck blind by a light from heaven, transformed into Paul, the apostle who would carry the gospel to the ends of the known world.